Good night to everyone. Alternate views. Yet another Thursday. We are back, and today we have Mr. Chad Williams, and we'll be discussing cricket. Oh, lovely cricket. But let me welcome you all to Alternate Views. Hope that we have a really good discussion this evening with Mr. Williams um, as we go. So this afternoon, we give some time to persons to sign on to the live and let us have a good discussion as usual. Don't forget to send your questions onto the stream. And after, we usually have a question and answer segment, and we encourage persons to come on and to show your face in interacting with me after the discussion with Mr. Williams. So far we have 16, 20 persons. We're asking you to share the live. We usually get some big numbers on the evenings interaction. So let's start by doing some advertisements. This is Alternate Views, as you may know, our economics platform. We are here to give an alternate view, really, of what economic development is or could be, based off new ideals, uh, merging the elders with the youth and creating a synergy in terms of what development for the country can look like. We've had a couple of persons on the show previously that give some very interesting perspectives on alternate views. And just to give you a brief recap um, of the persons that we had on the show previously, we had uh, Mr. Jamal Slocum. We discussed film and television and the contribution of film to the Barbados economy. And this Sunday, the Barbados Film and Television Association, in collaboration with the Office of Prime Minister, is having a discussion. And that discussion is basically film. Trying to get the flyer that you can see here, but I can read it for you. Sorry. Um, so it was good for alternate views to lay the groundwork in collaboration with the Film and Television Association. Yes, I have it here. So on Sunday, the Barbados Film and Television Association is having a forum and industry mixer on the 18th this Sunday. However, most of us will be at St. John at God Hill playing field for our motorcade and roadside parliament. If you follow the Marcy Weeks program, however, we're just discussing what we're seeing here in the public sphere. And we had the president of the Film and Television Association on previously, Mr. Slocum. And this Sunday, they are having their Future of Film Forum, um, where the Minister of Culture in the Prime Minister's office will be giving a featured address. So it was good for alternate views to be upfront in that regard. We had on the show as well Mr. Watson Solomon Juke from Tobago. Mr. Juke, as you know, is an assemblyman in the Tobago House of Assembly, or what we call Parliament, and he gave us some perspectives on Tobago. And as you know, Tobago is battling an oil spill at this moment, and we wish Tobago the best in terms of cleaning up the environmental danger happening in that country right now. Uh, and at some point in time, we will have Mr. Juke back on alternate views to discuss the oil spill and what it did to Tobago's economy. Uh, so we look forward to hearing from him. We have Mr. Robert Bobby Morris, who gave us a economic report on labor and jobs, trade unionism, and that was a very fruitful discussion. I really enjoyed having Mr. Morris on. We had Professor Justin Robinson, who has been appointed principal of the UWI Five Islands campus, and we discussed the future of debt sustainability. We discussed renewable energy, the International Monetary Fund, and last week we had Mr. Rashid Griffith, economist, who's based in Spain, And Mr. Griffith gave us some new radical ideas in association with the Caribbean Progress Studies Institute, an organization that I'll be partnering with going forward as it relates to economic ideas and discussions. And as was announced last week, Alternative Views will be seeing some changes in association with the Caribbean Progress Studies Institute, as I am now what you call a non-resident fellow of the institute, and some notable persons that are associated with the organization are Mr. Dr. Dilla Worrell and Mr. Neil Harper, who was featured recently in the media discussing cybercrime. I was also up there discussing the cybercrime bill. I recently gave an interview in the Bahamas discussing the cybercrime bill, and I would encourage you folks to read it as it was announced that the cybercrime bill will be part for parliamentary committee. So, alternative views is being heard, and we're uh, being referred to for guiding the economic conversation in the Caribbean. As was said, we went over to the Bahamas and we're gaining regional momentum as it relates to alternate views. So we just want to thank everyone who tuned on so far. We've had at one point at least 2,500 persons watching alternate views, and we want to keep that momentum going. So don't forget, viewers, to like and share. So far, we're at 30 persons, and we want to encourage you all to share the live stream. And what we also want to do, we want to invite your questions on live. So let me just say good evening to my early troopers. Galvez, welcome to you. You were here at 6:51, even before we got started. So thank you very much, Galvez. Welcome to the show. Galvez is saying good night to me and Mr. Williams. We're seeing him in the back room preparing himself. So we're going to patch him in very soon. We have Pete Way. Good evening to you, Pete Way. Good evening to you, Diana Seeley. Uh, Good evening to SD and H99. He's saying good night to you, Mr. Williams. Good evening, folks. Colin Clark. Good night from Birmingham in the UK. So we have an international audience, which is fine. We always do. So welcome to you from the United Kingdom, Sir Alfred Benjamin. I like that name. Well, good night to you, Mr. Benjamin. Welcome to Alternate Views yet again. We'll be promising to have a very excellent discussion with Mr. Chad Williams. So we are going to patch him in any minute now. But good evening to you, the viewers. Just to remind you one more time, our topic this evening is cricket. Oh, lovely cricket. Our most favorite pastime in the Caribbean. Uh, yes, Diana Seeley, thank you very much for the compliments. Belgium Brick tuning in from London. Hi to you all over in the UK. Thank you for tuning on. We're at 35 persons. We were asking all of you who are watching this evening to like the program, share the program, as this evening promises to be a very fruitful discussion on cricket or lovely cricket. So let me get our guest here, Mr. Chad Williams, and welcome him on.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
Yes, good night to you, Mr. Williams. Welcome to Alternate Views. I want to say firstly, thank you for agreeing to do this interview, to take time out of your busy schedule. We always give gratitude for persons coming on the platform to express themselves. Tonight is really your platform. We
Yeah,
ask the questions, we contribute in between, but it's really your platform to give us your alternate view about cricket. Lovely cricket. We know that you're a Barbados cricketer. You play for the national Barbados team, but I wouldn't steal your thunder. I will let you give your own profile, introduce yourself, and then we could segue from there. So before we do that, I just want to say welcome to all of the viewers once more. We're seeing some more persons coming on. We're seeing Joyanne Faith, Emerson Bob. Jefferson Sobers, and Tracy Barrow. Good night to you all. And they're sending their greetings to you as well, Mr. Williams. So over to you, Mr.
Yeah,
Chad Williams.
yeah. Good night, everybody. Obviously, my name is Chad Williams. Um, have have had the privilege to represent my country at the youth level, representing West Indies at youth level as well. I've not been fortunate enough to break into the senior studies yet, but obviously still working towards that. Um, Still trying to be as professional as possible, trying to work hard as possible every day. And obviously, a pleasure to come on here and share my views on cricket in the Caribbean and I guess how we could be better and how we can make a difference to the people. Obviously, we know cricket is very important to the people of the Caribbean, and I think sometimes it's not really taken seriously enough. So that's just my little introduction.
Yes, well, in such a brief introduction, what we will do, we always Google our guests live on the show to see what pops up. So we have your Wikipedia profile,
Hmm.
and it says here Chad J. Williams, born the 28th of November 1995. He's a Barbadian cricketer who has played for the West Indies under 19 team.
Yep.
Yes, a slow left arm orthodox bowler. Mr. Williams has played for Barbados at the under 19 level, but is yet to make his senior debut. His debut for the West Indies under 19 came in 2014 to 15 Regional Super 50, where matches held List A status. I'm not sure what that may be.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
just basically 50 over professional cricket.
yes, 50 over professional cricket. Right. So we explain all of that tonight for our viewers. I don't know if we have so many avid cricket fans on alternate views because it's a different topic. We merely discuss the economic numbers, we discuss some
Mhm.
political issues. So this is new and innovative uh, for the audience. So we're trying to get them to understand what does cricket do for the country and for the region. But my question to you, um, what has been your experience so far coming up from the level of because I played cricket as well. Normally may be a little stiff at the time. I remember I going to practice at the time. I went to the St. Michael School and I played cricket. I can remember persons like Jason Holder who went on to be a West Indies captain.
Hmm.
Uh, I remember cricketers like Rico De Pisa and Neil Brown and these
Yeah,
guys. And
cricketers.
yeah. Before that, I played what you call Herman Griffith
Hmm.
cricket, which is at the primary school level. So could you give
Yeah,
us a brief expose on cricket at the primary school level, cricket at the secondary school level, and cricket based what happens to a young person leaving school who's interested in playing cricket for his country and then for the region?
yeah. So basically, my cricket journey would have started in primary school. I would have played for Sharon Primary School, and at that time, the Herman Griffith tournament is as what is called was strong. So we had a lot of good cricketers coming out from Herman Griffith straight into secondary school. Um, I would have went for Herman Griffith. I would have did better in Herman Griffith. So the best players in Herman Griffith play for National Sports Council. I'm not sure if that's still around. And they will be able to go to like Trinidad and St. Kitts and play cricket against the other stronger players in the Caribbean. Um, so progressing past that, you play cricket in secondary school, and you try to play obviously for your secondary school in different divisions on the 13, on the 15, on the 17, and the 19, and obviously try to make the Barbados teams and the West Indies teams. So the pathway at the junior level is good, is a good one. There's structure there, and then you progress onto the under 19. You play for West Indies under 19 if you're good enough, and then hopefully straight into the senior team. Obviously, compared to other countries in the world, our structure past on the 19 level is not great. So it is difficult if you are not lucky enough to go from the under 19 team straight into the senior team, obviously it is difficult because there really isn't anything to pretty much. There's no structure in place. I should say it's being built now. Or they're working on it now, but there's really no structure in place to carry youth cricketer to the under 19, or I should say to the senior level. So I would say that is the hardest part in any cricketer's journey, trying to break into, trying to transition from youth cricket to senior cricket. Um, Around the world, I, I guess we could go on, we could go deeper into any discussion tonight, but obviously around the world, different territories have more money, so there is a lot more in place to help players transition from the under 19 level to the senior team, obviously, which is professional cricket. So yeah, I guess we can delve into that a little deeper later on the show. But yeah, I would say that is one of our biggest sticking points because we lose a lot of cricketers um, from in that period transitioning into senior cricket.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you said that. We have, I guess, associations in the country who are responsible for managing cricket in the country, which is the
Hmm.
Barbados Cricket Association at large.
Yeah,
Um, so how is the administration or the cricketing administration? What role do they play really in cricket from the naked eye perspective? Because I don't know really. So we're just asking for information here. What role
hmm.
does the BCA play in basically what you just said, the transition from primary school youth to senior cricket?
Well, they are obviously responsible for trying to create the structure and the infrastructure for players to go and be able to transition smoothly into senior cricket. Obviously, everybody's not going to play. Like that's a given. Like you can't have everybody going from schools cricket into senior cricket. But obviously, their role is to try to provide the best cushion for players coming out of school to transition into that senior to that senior level. And obviously, they'll be taking a lead from Cricket West Indies. Um, they would determine the structure in a sense and the various territories because obviously it's not just Barbados, but it's Jamaica, it's Trinidad, it's Guyana, it's the Leeward Islands and the Windward Islands. Um, so in a sense, Barbados would be taking a lead from Cricket West Indies in trying to develop structure and a better infrastructure for players to grow and develop into professional cricketers. And obviously, at times, I honestly think that we in the Caribbean, I say it's not just Barbados, but we in the Caribbean are not serious enough about sport and obviously cricket. Um, I read something earlier that the World Cup is going to generate about 300 million US dollars into the Caribbean, and that's not no monkey money. That's proper money, right? And I think we still see cricket as a hobby by and large in the Caribbean, and as a result of that, we 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 kind of lag behind. Um, I guess in our planning and our infrastructure.
Right. So you're saying that, and I agree with you. Cricket first starts at home in the communities, right?
Yeah, for
Most of
sure.
the best players that we had
Hmm.
started playing backyard cricket or cricket in the road um, at home,
Yeah.
and we play cricket for fun. Most people go to work really. But as a young person, we go to school,
Yeah.
we do our stuff, and then we play cricket on evenings for fun, for joy.
Hmm.
Um, Herman Griffith is a very short cricketing season,
Yeah.
and unless you actively seek out cricket clubs for young people, they're very hard to come by. You move forward. As you grow older, we still take it as a sport or for fun, as you said, because there is no real uh, encouragement, or there's no real, or we don't view cricket as a professional or profession really.
Yeah.
Like, so I realized that most people coming from Barbados in the Caribbean will take the opportunity to travel to England, India, the larger countries who have more a more professional uh, program going on as it relates to cricket, a more holistic program. But those type of programs don't necessarily exist uh, in the region. The
Yeah.
closest, sorry,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
the closest uh, program that I saw coming close to a professional status was the High Performance Center,
hmm
and then that was discontinued. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I think they're trying to get by the high performance center now. There's a vaccines academy, so they're trying to move back into that direction, which is a good step. But it's funny that you said so because I've had the privilege of going to India in 2019. It was part of a little academy down there. Well, I should say a little academy. It's a big academy. So I was down there for 2 months, living, eating, breathing cricket, and I was just talking to a cricketer, a friend of mine, Mr. Shamar Springer, and I believe that we really should be like a cricket manufacturing society, or I should say a professional cricketer manufacturing society, because as I say, I went to India and I was at academy, lived there for 2 months, and we had little boys, say 7, 8, 9, and they are going to school 3 hours a day. All the rest is playing cricket because their fathers and mothers know or could see from a young age, well, look, this little man got some cricket. So I'm going to invest as much as I could in him. And they got children that live in 6, 7, 8 hours from the parents. So, when the weekend done, you're going home because you can't go home. You can't, it's literally a plane trip. So, you got players investing from 7, 8, 9 years, let me say, uh, a day's work in cricket because they go to school for 3 hours a day and play cricket for all the rest. You wake up, go to the gym, practice, eat breakfast, do school for 3 hours, come back out, practice, sleep, repeat. So literally is a cricket factory. And I believe that we have enough talent and if the government or the powers that be, I mean, I can't see it happening in the next 10 years, next 15 years, but there needs to be a mindset shift towards cricket and sports in the Caribbean. Because if we got players going out and generating millions of dollars in revenue every year from cricket alone, why are we forcing youngsters to be lawyers, doctors, carpenters, masons, and not, I should say, not enough of that, but why are we not channeling more cricket, more sportsmen into sports? What we can see, I'm sure that we can spot phenomenal talent from the age of 6, 7, 8, 9. You can look at a youngster and say, look, this man got signed for cricket, or this man got signed for football, or this man got signed for tennis, and put infrastructure in place that we can, because you foster that talent, they generate money for the economy here. So, like, there's a lot we can talk about, but really and truly, I believe that we fall short in what we can capture. Because, as I say, when you finish school, you don't make it straight to being in a professional setup. You gotta look for work, and looking for work takes away from the time that you can develop your game. Because as we speak, they have, and I said I've been privileged to have a contract, a professional contract, for a short period of time, but EBCA offers, I should say, something called a developmental contract, where they kind of select the best players. I'm not sure how many. I can't remember how much. Probably like 11 or 12 players, and they are given $1,500 a month to play and and train. Now, that obviously that is separate from contracts that Cricket West Indies give out. So every year they give out, I think, 15 or 14 contracts to every territory. So 15 players in every territory. So 15 players in Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad, Guyana, Leeward Islands, and Leeward Islands are selected for by Cricket West Indies and given contracts. Barbados has taken a step further and given another 11 or 12 players developmental contracts for a year each. And that's another problem to another sticking point that we only have year contracts in the Caribbean. So you are not giving a youngster any stability by giving him a year contract. In England and other territories, they get contracts for 3 years, 4 years. So a man know that he can sit down and plan for the next 4 years because he knows that he has 4 years of money coming in. A player in the Caribbean now only getting a year contract. So you literally looking over your shoulder every minute to try and ensure that you get a contract for next year. So there's a lot, and obviously it's difficult. We see the vaccines doing poorly, but we don't know the full story. And I think a lot of the times it's kind of unfair. I should say it is unfair to kind of expect us to I see a question coming in. It's kind of unfair to kind of expect us to compete on the same level as the other territories that have fantastic infrastructure, fantastic facilities for players to develop. I see a question coming in. Are you satisfied in development? I definitely not. I'm not satisfied with the development programs. I think we can definitely do a lot better. Um, with the facilities are provided, but again, this requires money, and I must say that I'm not privy. I'm not sure Mrs. Story can tell me, but I'm not privy to exactly how much funds the BCA is able to generate to put back into cricket. And I know money is an issue in the Caribbean as it relates to cricket. But
But
definitely,
let me
yeah, go
let
ahead.
me let me ask you: do you agree that cricket should be more private sector driven,
I
or
definitely agree that cricket should be more private sector driven. Um, but it has to be people, the private sector has to be attracted to the product that cricket is. And I don't think that right now it is attractive to the private sector. So hence we see that it is not private sector driven. But for sure, I certainly believe that if it was more private sector driven, we will see better development.
well, this is my thing. You have governments around the
Mhm.
world who usually invest in players or basically cricketing programs because they're satisfied that their teams could play enough cricket around the world to be able to bring returns. Now, this is the second time that Barbados is hosting a cricket World Cup, right? Let's just say we have one major cricket stadium in Barbados, right? Let's look at the cricket pitches we have around the island, right? Uh, Sometimes I go on these pastures, and if I don't be careful, I may need an ankle or two because
Yeah, yeah.
there's potholes. The pitches very substandard. Um, and we have when we have teams coming to tour Barbados, cricket is only played at a few locations, except for Kensington Oval. We have three W's Oval, um, and you may struggle after to find a ground that is
Well,
suitable.
yeah, they're trying to put a lot of effort into Windward and St. Philip
Yeah.
to develop that. A nice ground. Um, Windwards and St. Philip, there's police ground that they're trying to develop now to try and make it to try and bring it up to standard for the World Cup. So it's police, Windward, obviously Kensington Oval, and then there's 3Ws, which is UE. So they're really trying to put a lot of effort into those grounds. But that's another issue, obviously, that we have in the Caribbean. And it's something that is known too because obviously a lot of the players at the international level speak about it. The captains, the leaders speak about the fact that we don't have good pitches. So if we don't have good pitches, we don't have good outfields. We can like it's hard to develop good players, and that's just a fact of the matter. You go, you turn up. As I said, I had the privilege of going to India, so I kind of use that as a yardstick. Obviously, I was able to train around professional cricketers in that setup as well. And you turn up and you know you can get practice every day. You know the standard of practice, uh, what standard practice is going to be. You know what standard pitch is going to be. You turn up in Barbados and it's not the same. So obviously, another thing too is that we don't have our own indoor facility. The only indoor facility is at UE. So when the rainfall, Barbados cricketers can't practice. When the rainfall in India, when the rainfall in England, they gonna practice till then field till then third. Like it don't make a difference. Here, if the rainfall, we gotta go home. So that's a major difference. So that's why I say a lot of things go on, and we see we really just see the end product being West Indies cricket, and we are disappointed with the performance. But as I alluded to previously, like if we knew or if people knew what cricketers in the region go through to try to be professional cricketers, I don't think that they will be as hard on them when they see them on TV. That's the honest to God truth.
Well, somewhat. I want to give you a difference. I would say let me just be the devil's advocate here for a bit.
Mhm.
Previously, when you had the older guys playing West Indies cricket,
Yeah,
they didn't have as much equipment as the guys have now. The facilities weren't as good. The pay wasn't as good. But there was a certain pride about being a West Indies player, and these guys had a fire, right? So some would argue that as time has passed by, you have it might not be the best, but you have more facilities, more opportunities. So what has changed really as it relates to the motivation for getting it and being a West Indies player or a Barbados player? You gave us some background information as to why that could be, right? But again, my devil's advocate question here is how come the other fellows were able to get in there and give us some wins without but at this time now the fellas are struggling to really come up and put up. What do you think is happening there?
I think it's pretty simple for me, really and truly. Obviously, at that time we were competing based off of raw talent and ability, and from the Caribbean, you gonna find more athletic people, like people that are more coordinated. I just I can't say that straight up, but definitely we are the people in the Caribbean are athletic. I should say athletically inclined, right? At that time in the 70s and 80s, my belief is that we were competing based off of raw talent and ability. And as soon as the rest of the world realized that this cricket, we can make this science based, and it became scientifically based and driven. We can't keep up because we still training the old ways, we still training the old facilities. As soon as and I feel like the 2020 World Cup is a good example. We won the 2020 World Cup, yeah, for sure. Technology is a major factor. But as soon as 2020 World Cup, we won in 2016.
This we when you say we, yeah, you
West Indies,
remember.
West Indies,
Yes, yes.
right? As soon as the rest of the world was able to figure out 2020 cricket, right? Again, I would say we are a very talented region, right? As it relates to sports. Man for man, pound for pound, I think that at youth level, you could put a cricketer anywhere in the world, from Barbados, Guyana, you could carry and put anywhere in the world. Australia, India, he can compete, right? At youth level, because we are talented, very talented. But as soon as it requires technology, as my man is saying, and it requires science, right? Which is what is used at a national level and planning and infrastructure, we get left behind because we don't have it. So my opinion on the whole, because we touched on a few things, motivation and what's not. But the landscape of cricket is changing, and cricket got a lot more money now, right? And I am sure that obviously we got a lot of people here playing in different. Yeah, I can answer that question shortly. But we got people in different realms, I should say, in different workplaces, different industries. So we got lawyers, we got doctors. I am sure that if you are working in a law firm and you are making, say, just say example, $50,000 a year, and somebody offers you $100,000 a year, are you going to refuse it because of of pride? I dare say that many of us will not refuse $100,000 a year because of pride. But we expect West Indies cricketers to go and do the same. We expect a man to be getting a million, to be offered $1 million for 4 weeks of work, and to turn down that money to play for West Indies, where he's going to get potentially, if he plays a two-test series, he can get probably $40,000 in a two-test series. So I think that a lot of people don't know the figures, and obviously a lot of the older generation, yes, they did play for pride, they did represent West Indies, but the truth of the matter is that money was not the same in cricket then as it is now. And I'm sure that you can't take the fact that you played for West Indies in the grocery store and buy groceries. You take cash to buy groceries. So obviously landscape is different, and you gotta try to blend that because the career of a sportsman is very, very limited. You only got, let me say, 10, 15 years if you're lucky. A lot of players are have a shorter career than that. So you gotta try to maximize on the money that you make in your career because at 40 you're playing cricket. I should say very rarely at 40 playing cricket. So you gotta make sure that when you've done your career, you have enough that you can transition smoothly into life after cricket. And I see a question here being asked about, yes, the best players are able to get endorsement deals. Um, but I think in the Caribbean is a lot harder. So in like the UK, um, India, Australia, they do a lot better with getting endorsement deals. But with like gear, so like bats, pads, yeah, you're able to get that fairly easily from the big manufacturers.
All right. So, what about financially? If we have a talented player who's been sponsored by Nike, Puma, etc., having a bat, pads, gloves, that is fine. Advertisement and marketing has become a big part of cricket. You should be sure when we watch cricket online and television. There's a whole host of ads, bombarded with ads. Advertisements are all over the cricket stadium, which means that money is being generated. You don't; these ads are not put there necessarily for camaraderie or for fun.
Mhm.
So you have companies out there who benefit financially from advertising heavily with cricket or a team. However, as it relates to income and liberty for the actual player of him in himself. Again, he still has to eat. He may still have family. So, to what extent do these arrangements and these endorsement deals cover income for players?
Yeah, these so all right. I guess these two companies you mentioned are pretty specific, but generally speaking, right, we don't, unless you're really really say let me say 1%. There's not a lot of players that actually get money from these endorsement deals. You will get gear, but you're not gonna get money. So let me just say a player like Puran, Nicholas Puran, Jason Holder, Shea Hope, they would actually get money from their sponsors. But that is a very small percentage of the players that play cricket. Other than that, you can get a normal sponsor that can give you gear. But obviously then you rely on your territorial board to give you money or to pay you. So here in the Caribbean, we don't get a lot of players that make a lot of money for endorsement deals. So as I said, the money comes from our territorial boards, and we rely a lot on them, obviously to fund our future and to help us put money into our cricket to continue to improve. So, and that's, I guess, another issue that we have is that the money that is distributed on the international scene is not equal. So we don't get the same amount of money as, say, vaccines does not get the same amount of money as, say, Australia or England or India. So we have to make do with a lot less, right? So it places a lot of squeeze on the territorial boards. And again, obviously, with the lack of performance in our regional team, you don't get sponsors. So I think we are one of the few teams. I think we've not got a gear sponsor, but we don't, as far as I know, we don't play with a sponsor across our chest. Like, we don't play with a sponsor on our shirt because, like, nobody wants to sponsor the West Indies. So again,
Well, no, saying like that. Well, I
yeah,
know.
but I just talking facts.
Yeah.
Again, obviously that contributes to a squeeze on cricketers financially, because if you're not getting sponsor money, cricket board, the cricket vaccines is not getting additional money to help fund cricket operations. So it really is, it really is, I guess, a chain reaction in a sense. And yes, territorial boards can do better. That is a fact. And but again, it 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 obviously comes down from ICC, the
Mm.
culture,
And for the viewers, say ACC is who?
the International Cricket Council. So they I guess they govern world cricket.
Hmm. Fair enough. So from my understanding here,
Mhm.
we have an international body which governs cricket, which is the ACC. Then
Yeah.
we have the regional boards, which are the West Indies Cricket Board and
So
Cricket
cricket
West Indies,
vaccines. Yeah.
Cricket West Indies,
Hmm.
and then there's the Barbados Cricket Association,
Right.
which is a board as well. But in politics, some
Hmm.
often argue that we should just get rid of all the boards because the boards are the problem. The bureaucracy is the problem. Um, Over administrating sports tend to complicate the issues. Um, we have admin persons who are paid quite handsomely to administrate sports, but then you exclude the main attraction, which are the players. So
Yeah.
some would argue that it makes sense to go to school and get a bachelor's or a master's in sports science or in cricket and come and work for the BCA or the ACC or Cricket West Indies and forget going out in the hot sun uh, playing cricket, right? Um, but again, like I said, that is political talk about boards, right? But my thing here is, um, you spoke earlier about monies that's allocated in, and there's a disparity in money allocated from ICC. There will be a disparity between Australia, a disparity between England, or a disparity between West Indies. Um, how is this money dispersed from the ICC to the respective islands, and what would make Australia get more than West Indies?
Well, from my limited understanding, it has a lot to do with viewership and TV rights. So those big territories like India for sure, they really and truly, people say that BCCI, which is the Indian Cricket Board, they kind of control the ICC. So because India is a obviously a nation with a billion strong, and they worship cricket. Like, cricket is, I can't explain. Like, I don't think people will be able to understand how. Yeah, here we go. I can come to this question shortly. I don't think people are able to understand, or unless you go to India, you won't really understand how much of a religion cricket is. And obviously, that culture is not here in the Caribbean, right? So they're a cricketing nation, and as a result of that, everybody follows cricket. So for example, IPL game turn on a final, I don't think there's many sporting events in the whole world that can compete with them on a viewership level, and that's a fact. That's not I'm not making it up. So when cricket is played in India, people watch. So as a result of that, they are able to command more money from the ICC, right? I'm not sure if you already know these questions, but I can go and try and get back. There was a
Don't
question.
worry. I could put them back up for you. Just
Oh,
trying
okay.
to highlight each
Right.
one. But I want to
So
put back them.
obviously, I'm not sure if we have any TV rights in place from in cricket West Indies, or I should say, to display cricket in the West Indies. Maybe some, but the money that is generated from that is not as much. So I think when cricket is played in the West Indies, touch cricket for sure, we make a loss, right? So it costs us to play cricket in the Caribbean. Whereas in those territories, they make huge sums of money, and the ICC rewards them to suit. I am not 100% sure, but I think we get a fraction of what those territories are able to generate. I'm not sure. I can't come and say the percentages, but we make a small fraction of what the ICC, or we are given a small fraction of what the ICC gives to the big three. The big three are England, Australia, and India. And I say we could dive into a lot tonight, but um, it revolves around international cricket, and international cricket now is threatened by franchise cricket, which is, I would say, it's sanctioned by ICC, but a businessman could create a franchise, say in the CPL, and that's what they do. They buy franchises in CPL, and they run the franchises as a business. So all around the world, cricket franchises are popping up, and players are able to go and play cricket in different territories for lots of money. Say, as I say, in IPL, you got players getting $1 million for 4 to 6 weeks of work. So at this point, cricket vaccines is threatened because you got players, as I say, that can go and play cricket for 4 weeks and get $1 million, as opposed to playing a two-test series for $50,000. So we are in a position that we are in now because we can't afford to give territories $1 million contracts. We got players like, let's say, Joe Archer, who was a player that I would have played cricket with as a youngster. He is able to command $1 million contract from his board. $1 million pounds, not Barbados dollars, £1 million alone. So he can easily say, well, look, I don't want to play IPL cricket because I don't have to play IPL cricket because they make $1 million a year from playing cricket alone from my territorial board. I think that the biggest contract from that cricket West Indies offers to their players is about $300,000, and that's probably an all format player. So a player that plays every format for the region. So 50 over T20 and Test cricket. So we really can't compete on a money level. And obviously that is as a result of the money that has passed down to us. I hear looking at this question, don't you think? So yes, I was able to be a part of this scholarship program. It has, I'm not sure what's happened to it now. A program called Lord Gavron. I was able to go to England for 6 months to play cricket. That was a really wonderful opportunity. I was able to be paid as well for playing cricket, but not enough of it is done, to be quite honest. And I think that the scholarships, as I say, at this level, right, at youth cricket level, we compete with the world. As you can see, we just had a cricket World Cup, and we did very well. We were knocked out because of the rain, pretty much, in a semi-final game, a quarterfinal game against Australia. So at the youth cricket level, we compete very well, but it's when we transition on youth cricket into senior cricket that we are left behind. So yes, scholarships are nice, but really and truly, what is used Yeah, Marlon, that's a good question. What is really needed is for structure, infrastructure to be placed in that as soon as cricketers leave our, our age where they have to work. So 18, 19, 20, 21, we need to put a lot of emphasis into that transition so that we can capture more cricketers and give more people opportunities to play cricket at a professional level. I
But
see somebody mention that ground in
yes,
St. Andrew. The ground in St. Andrew is a lovely ground. And it was
what
actually
what
disappointed. Huh?
what? Remember here that is speaking to um an audience that knows very little about. So you have to add more information. What ground is in Andrew?
Okay, yeah. So the
Isolation.
isolation, yeah.
Yes.
Isolation is a wonderful ground. Probably one. I think the most beautiful ground in Barbados. I think that it really captures us as a country. Um, so I was kind of disappointed that no cricket was given to them for the World Cup. Every time that a team comes to the Caribbean and is able to go and play cricket at isolation, they're remarkable how beautiful it is. The facilities are wonderful. Obviously, they don't have bleachers. Like it's a club ground, so they don't really have bleachers. All right, I can go read this question a little later, but they don't have bleachers like say in national ground. But the facilities, the just the view, the outfield, the pitches are very good pitches as well. So I really was disappointed that no cricket was given to them because I think that it kind of captures us Barbados better than other grounds um, around the island. I hear reading this comment from. I'm not sure about this statement because we go around the world and play cricket with all these international players in international cricket, franchise cricket, as I say, in India, in South Africa, in England, and they freely share secrets with us, and that doesn't help us to I would say it would impact the individual player, but what we really need is infrastructure. What we really need is development from the grassroots level up. Sharing trade secrets really is not going to make a difference to us as a territory. So I'm not sure how big of a role that would have played. Yes, we go to other countries and we learn and we develop, but what we really need is money in our cricket. What we really need is people at the administration level that really want to see us improve as a territory.
Uh, Let me ask you. A couple years ago, and I'm trying to get it here that we can see it as well. A couple years ago, we had something called the uh, Allen Stanford T20. I don't
Yeah,
have the right name, but it
yeah.
was Stanford 2020, right? And in my opinion, Mr. Stanford, sorry, excuse me, Mr. Stanford innovated cricket in the Caribbean. This was the first time that I actually heard of players being rewarded so financially, such a very big way.
Hmm.
Um, right, and many people, if you hit the clock, you got $1 million. If you hit a six and you hit the clock, you got $1 million. Right, that motivated and that brought serious attention to cricket in the region. Um, right, I just want to show persons here just as a quick reminder. Um, if you remember the Stanford 2020, I really what it did. That was the first time I saw average persons, cricketers, making millions of dollars
Hmm.
in the short space of time. And I spoke to a couple of my cricketing friends, and they were so motivated. They were so motivated by the Stanford 2020. It's
Yeah.
very sorry it had to work out the way it had to work out. But we're not discussing that. We're discussing what innovative idea based on what you're saying here,
Hmm.
right? The level of innovation that Stanford 2020 brought to the region. Would you suggest or give any comments about um, another? Stanford, well, a more legit Stanford, uh, coming to the region and helping to take the cricket forward.
Well, I think what Stanford, how Stanford was innovative was that Stanford gave opportunities to more players in the Caribbean. So we had players from, I think, every single, I should say, most Caribbean islands playing cricket in the Stanford T20. I'm not sure if you'll be able to pull up. I'm not sure if you'll be able to pull up um, the territories that would have played in Stanford T20, but for sure, the money, obviously, the money that he was able to generate and give to put in the cricket, that really, up to this point in the Caribbean, is unparalleled. I'm not sure if you'll be able to get back there to that level where we got that amount of money in the cricket. Um, but for sure, what made Stanford different was the fact that more players were given opportunity. So we have the CPL now. Obviously, CPL itself is a business, right? And we have territories. We got Trinidad, we got Barbados, we got St. Kitts, we got St. Lucia, we got Guyana. Don't think miss. So that's five territories. So we got five teams in the CPL, right? And those teams have overseas players as well. So you got a roster of 15 players, and say four of those gonna be overseas players. So you got 11 spots by five. So you literally got 55 spots. Let me just say, doing the math, 55 spots of players that's going to be made up of players from the Caribbean, right? I obviously it can be less than that, but I just saying. Whereas I would have to go and pull up now how many territories played. I'm not sure if you can still see me.
Yeah,
Right. I'm not sure how many. I would have to pull up now how many players played um Stanford T20, but I'm willing to bet it was a lot more. Right. So a lot more players were able to make a living from cricket, or I should say, able to make some money from cricket. Whereas no, we got the CPL, which is a business from players outside of the Caribbean. That business is not owned by Cricket West Indies. CPL is owned by businessmen outside of the Caribbean, right? And they have no interest in developing cricket in West Indies. Their sole aim is to make money from cricket, right? It's a business, which is all well and good. But as a result of that, players are given less opportunity, right? Before that, we would have had cricket. I'm not sure if it's coming back, but I've heard talks of it coming back. We had um, the regional T20, which was kind of like a feeder system to the CPL. So I should say CPL, but every other tournament or every other territory in the world has a tournament that feeds to their franchise tournament. We in the Caribbean don't. So really and truly, that doesn't give opportunity to a lot of people outside of the group that's already there to get into the CPL. You understand what I'm saying? Because there's literally no feeder system into that cricket. So I would say Stanford was innovative in the sense that he was able to give opportunity to a lot more cricketers to play
well,
cricket.
well, what we have here, an article from 2007, it says that as it relates to funding, Sir
Mm-mm.
Alan Sanford also indicated that he will continue his support for grassroots cricket with
Yeah,
the extension of the monthly funding of US $15,000 for each uh, territorial cricket body. And this figure represents a total of US $10,000 for support of coaches and players and US $5,000 for maintenance of equipment and facilities. Um, yeah, and he also said here that uh, Sanford was thinking of creating a TV show, and I saw a comment in the chat earlier about and I'm gonna read it after read this what I'm reading here. It says TV show, one of the most exciting additions to the next Stanford 2020 tournament will be a bi-weekly television show about the Stanford 2020 program and all of the countries, Caribbean countries, which should be involved. Um, they gave the times of when it was supposed to begin, and it said that the production will also feature stories about players who have fascinating or interesting jobs outside of playing cricket, as well as stories about players who have overcome obstacles such as poverty, injuries, and handicaps to become players. They also went on here to say that the cricket legends. Um, Stanford started a legends program for the art cricketing stalwarts, and the stalwarts were used as a resource to assist in the preparation of the various territories. Uh, they said that contact is currently being made with the cricket associations and boards in the various participating territories as regards visits by the legends, which will be a prominent feature of the tournament. And at the moment, the individual territories are requesting Sanford organizers specific time periods where they would prefer to have the legends conduct their visits, and the countries they give, and the legends that were attached to the respective countries. We have the British Virgin Islands and the U.S. Virgin Islands. We had Desmond Haynes. Um, in Jamaica, we had, and I'm going to put it up on the screen here that you can see. In Jamaica and Anguilla, we had Gordon Greenwich, who's a Barbadian. We had Courtney Walsh, who's a Bahamian. We have Joel Garner. Sorry, Courtney Walsh, the Bahamas. Sorry, Joel Garner, Grenada and Dominica. Lance Gibbs, I think that right. Turks and Caicos Islands and Puerto Rico. Montserrat and Saint Vincent, Saint Martin and the Dominican Republic. St. Kitts and Nevis were Sir Richie Richardson and Andy Roberts were St. Martin. Bermuda and Guyana was Sir Vivian Richards. The Cayman Islands and Antigua were Ian Bishop. Barbados was Sir Everton Weeks. Trinidad and Tobago was Wes Hall. And St. Lucia was Sir Garfield Sower. So you were seeing a high level of regional integration that the Sanford 2020 brought to innovate West Indies cricket. So what are your thoughts about that? And then I want to read the comment here before you do that. Sorry. I wanted to read the comment which someone suggested that maybe you should start a YouTube show. Um, there's it. It's on the screen. It says Mr. William and any of his colleagues could also consider starting a podcast on cricket here on YouTube, which could generate revenue. And this channel may have to be registered outside of Barbados because, as far as I know personally, um, Barbados does not monetize YouTube. I see there's one person who does cricketing commentary at a high level, and his name is
Nikhil,
Nikhil.
Uttam Chandani.
Yes, yes, he does
Yeah,
some very good work
yeah,
to display cricket at a high level. I'm very impressed
yeah.
um, with his work. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I that's something that I honestly would do, but at this point, I still interested in a playing career. So I think that some of my views would not be conducive to me playing further. I think that if I was to really speak what I really had in mind, then I would not get any more opportunities in cricket. So at this point in time, I don't think that no is the right time. But definitely, I love cricket. I really love cricket. Like cricket is my first love. So I really I there's no turning road that I don't watch and I don't follow. So I obviously got a lot of information on cricket. And at some time, yeah, it is. At some time, I would like to be able to do a podcast. But no, it's not a time for sure.
Yeah. So, what do you think about what Sanford did in terms of
Yeah,
what we discussed? Right.
yeah, definitely. If you could see there the countries that were playing in cricket, like I'm sure, obviously, I would say CPL is a franchise that is interested in making money from cricket. They're interested in making money from cricket. They're not interested in development of cricket West Indies. So obviously, the more territories that you have in cricket, right? They they think that they make cricket weaker, obviously because we try to keep a nucleus of the best players in the region playing cricket. Again, CPR does not or is not interested in developing West cricket. They are interested in making money from cricket. What Stanford did was inject money into cricket and at the same time try to develop West cricket, which in itself was innovative. Obviously, we know that he had a lot more money than the average Joe. I should say the average Joe, but the average person that comes into cricket, he had a lot more money than that. So he was able to say, "Well, look, I want to take cricket. I want to put cricket in my hands, but at the same time, I want to give back. I want to help you guys to grow." And he did that by opening a lot more territories to be part of the cricket tournament. And as a result of that, a lot more people were given opportunities to play and to display themselves on its national level. Because cricket, obviously, Stanford T20 was watched all around the world. He was really a trailblazer in his own right. So as a result, it gave opportunity to a lot more people. And as a result of that, a lot more people were given the platform to showcase their ability and were able to progress on in cricket as a result of that. I would love Stanford now in this time. Obviously, without all of what went behind the scenes, I would love the platform that he would have provided to many players throughout the region, but we don't have that. So we are in a fight now to try to get something that gives players more opportunity, or I should say, gives more players opportunity to display their talents. As I say, cricket is really a very limited. Life of cricket is a very limited time frame, so you gotta be able to maximize all that you have in that limited time frame. When you done play cricket, when you at 45, you can't play cricket. So you need to be able to get as much as possible out of your career. And at this time, we don't in the Caribbean we don't provide that. We don't help players. We don't really help players like a lot of players doing it on their own, and that's the honest to God truth. So we always fight uphill battle.
Yeah. Well, Chad, just one moment. Let us re-engage our audience. The questions are coming in fast and furious now. Uh, we're up at 90 persons so far.
Hmm.
So I want to encourage those persons to like and share the stream. Let us get, let us double those numbers because we usually do every live stream. But so far, having a very good discussion with Mr. Chad Wlliams, Barbados national cricketer, and he's offering his alternative view really on cricket in the region and the cricket throughout the world really as a whole. It could be developed and offering a new way. But good night to you again, alternative viewers. Thank you for tuning in. I just wanted to say good night to our loyal supporters. We have Square Four. We see Joseph Cadogan, welcome. Marlon Blaugrove, welcome. We're seeing Olympian Ryan Buffett. Welcome, Mr. Buffett. Uh, we want to extend an invitation to you to come on the show at some point in time, Mr. Buffett. So please, you know, if you have some time, avail yourself to being on here. We want to hear your perspective as a person who went all the way in athletics. So again, thank you all for tuning in. Let's not forget, let's like, let's share, and let us ask Mr. Williams some more questions. So far, we're having a very informative session. I am learning a lot already. Our persons here are learning a lot already. We had somebody say that he didn't know that they didn't get funding and he didn't know quite a bit about what was happening. We learned about the cricketing deal so far. We learned about the structure of the cricket so far. And remember, we all bring this back to the economic contribution that a sport like cricket brings to Barbados because we have to live, we have to eat. Not everyone can be a doctor, lawyer, politician, pharmacists. We have sportsmen, and cricket being one of the sports we adopted. Unfortunately, we may have adopted from the colonizers, but we've now become better than them at it, and it's part of our culture, really. As of late, we see other sports seeping into our culture, like football. Maybe some hockey, uh, volleyball, and the like. But cricket is still very much a part of our culture. Cricket is still very much a part of our politics and our political system in the region, because we tend not to recognize the level of politics associated with cricket during the Caribbean. Um, I made the point that cricket needs to be more private sector driven as opposed to be under the guise of government bureaucracy, and I will stick to that point because it has now become really a money making venture, and not much focus is being placed on the actual talent and developing the individual talent and the i.e. the persons who are actually going to come and play uh, cricket. So that leads to issues of race. Well, not really race, really, but issues of classism, really, where persons who come from poor backgrounds will struggle. Um, I personally experienced classism in my cricketing journey. As I said, I played cricket at school. I was not any top cricketer by the way, but I could have did a little something. But I experienced high levels of classism in the cricket. Um, and that is something maybe we should touch on along the way. But this is Alternate Views again. Welcome to you all. We're here with Mr. Chad Williams. So, Mr. Williams, we have a couple of questions here coming in. I'm going to put them up that you can see. Um, we have, right, as I said, somebody said they know they weren't getting any sponsors. That's true. Uh, Mr. Cadogan is saying that West Indies players need to improve their game. Mr. Cadogan, Chad Williams gave us a very good background as to why cricket may be struggling. Um, so maybe he could say it again, or maybe when you watch over the show, you will get his perspective as to why it may be struggling. We have another comment here saying that true, we maybe need a mindset shift towards sports being a business and not just a hobby. Mr. Williams made that point earlier. Marlon Belgrove is saying that England cricketers that are contracted to the England Cricket Board are only allowed to allow T20 tournaments here. I probably missed the number. Again, Mr. Ryan Buffett is saying that cricket needs revamping. Um, Marlon is saying, thank you, Chad. Uh, Mr. Cadogan is saying most West Indies cricketers fail in the physical aspects of the game. Um, SDNA says, I hear you, Mr. Williams. Um, SDNH is saying, by registered outside, I mean a country in the YouTube partner program, which is fine. Square 4, I am fine, thank you. Having a good evening. We're not late. We welcome you. Square 4 is saying good night, Chad Williams. How are you? I can't understand cricket only when someone makes runs. uh, Alfred Benjamin, Sir Alfred Benjamin is saying with all the money in cricket, youngsters will have to play school cricket, play BCL and BCA cricket. I feel scouts will be looking. Um, Square 4 is asking, can you explain what an off spin is? Okay,
Um,
yeah, I'm gonna leave. I'll let you get it after. Let me just take
okay,
some
okay,
more
okay.
comments. Pedro Gemma is saying, greetings, welcome to you, Pedro. Jujop Waldron is saying good night, all. Wayne Dredd is saying, uh, betting on sports activities is legal and practiced in international countries and nations. In Barbados, a warning is mentioned before the game, warning that is not allowed and one can be prosecuted. Um, that's a very interesting comment. Maybe you could comment at that one after as well on betting, game betting in the region. Uh, Joseph is saying again that to get West Indies cricket back on top, they need to develop the players. Right now, I'm watching Shamar Joseph, who's going to develop as a great cricketer in the West Indies. And I agree with you there, Mr. Cadogan. John Seeley, who's an avid cricket fan. Thank you for tuning in, John. He said, Mr. Williams, Barbados has a reputation of being the foundation of West Indies cricket. Do you think that we are losing our reputation given the poor performance of West Indies over the years? Um, Square Four say, Chad, what is a bowler? Well, that's bowler, you say. What is a bowler? I have to word spell right. Sean Cole is saying that is true, Kimar. Barbados has too much doctors and lawyers, and there's something called market saturation. Uh, Marlon again is saying, how can we get the Hetties and Hetmeyers and Purans of this world to play first class cricket in the Caribbean? Uh,
I guess you gotta let me know at what point or when you want me to answer the questions.
yeah, I'm gonna leave you answer, but just trying to read them,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
read them out. All right. Chesterfield said, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to make a living through 2020. However, the youngsters have to hone the skill or develop through the test and one day formats first. Pedro is saying talent alone no don't help certain players. Academia is being pushed first. And that is a true statement. Again, the same point that we made about the administrative push as opposed to play. Uh, Chesterfield, do government give an annual subvention to BCA and other clubs or entities in Barbados? As the said, I've always loved cricket, but as a girl growing up, we weren't allowed to play. But I'm happy to see that now there's a women's team, slowly but surely. And I want to say that I'm very happy to see persons like Haley Matthews out there making it big as a Barbadian. So congrats to her. And lastly, Joseph is saying, I can tell you, I could manage my niece's professional career in tennis, and I could seriously say here that a lot of sponsors would like to invest in cricket, but what is their return on their investment? So you have a lot of questions, Chad.
Yeah. That last one was a good one.
Right, so I'm gonna scroll back up and put them on there that you can see, and you can take them as they come up. But the first one was, can you explain what is off spin?
Yeah. That's quick. I can do that quick. So right-handed batter. Um, Austin is kind of like a slow bowler, and he bowls the ball to the right-hander. When the ball bounces, it will go from. I don't know if she knows where the stumps, which stumps is off, middle, and leg, but it will go from the off stump. It will spin and go from, let me say, left to right. So that's basically what off spin is. So when it bounces, it would change in direction and go from left to right. I not hear you. I not hear you. I'm not sure what happened.
I was muted. Sorry.
Whoa.
What I can suggest to Square Four is, um, you could give her probably one of the best off spinners in the world to go and watch. You
Yeah.
can put up Google,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
She, she,
I'll let you give the recommendation as you're the cricketer.
okay. Yeah. She can Google someone called Nathan Lyon.
Right,
Nathan and then Lyon. Yeah, Nathan Lyon. He's
Nathan,
from
as in
yeah,
NathanLyon.
yeah, Nathan Lyon.
Right. I put the name in the chat Square Four that you can go and watch Nathan Lyon bowling, and you will get an idea of what off spin is. So thank you for that question. Next question. Um, Betting.
Yeah, that's a good one. Recently we had a tournament called the BIM 10 tournament, and that tournament is only put on and facilitated by there's a betting company that facilitates that tournament, and the only reason for that tournament is for betting. So that tournament is put on by an Indian betting company, and as I say, we had um cricket here is 10 over tournament, and it was played here recently, and it's one. I guess it's the only tournament that we play here as amateurs that we are able to be paid from. So that's something that we really enjoy, yeah, and that's something that this year was the second year that we had it, but interesting you mentioned it. Um, we had a guy that was escorted out the tournament, I think for some betting issues as well. So that was interesting. Yeah, this question on Shamar, well, this statement on Shamar Joseph is a very good one because I kind of see Shamar as like a kind of a freak of nature in a sense because Shamar is obviously I've not been able to play cricket with him up to this point, but he is a very very talented youngster and he ain't really had a lot of cricket coaching. Obviously come from Barakara, which is not it's part of I think it's in Berbice in Guyana. So up until 2 years ago, I think a lot of players would not have ever seen him in life. And that obviously so he would not have played any cricket for Ghana. He would not have played any lot no big set of club cricket in Ghana as well. But here's a guy that pretty much is technically perfect as a fast bowler. And obviously that is not something that is very common to have someone that with that little coaching to have such a perfect fast bowling action, or I should say fast bowling technique. I guess viewers will be able to understand that a little better. So yeah, he really is a freak of nature, and at 24 years old, he really has the world at his feet. He really, I think, the thing that separates him as a young cricketer is his self belief, and he really will be able to change his little village that he's from. Because just got a contract there in the IPL for about 700,000 Bajan dollars. I just he got a West Indies contract for about 300,000 Bajan dollars as well. So definitely life changing money. So again, you can see why like you get in, he can get $400,000 US for I think about 350,000 US for 4 to 6 weeks of work. Can you can we in cricket West Indies cannot compete money wise. You cannot compete with that money. So how you gonna ask a guy? How you gonna ask a guy to consistently turn down that money? You can't ask a guy to consistently turn down that money and play for pride. It's a really difficult proposition that we are faced with in the West Indies. And obviously, it's something that we can go and get right, or we can find a lot of players. We can lose a lot of players to big money franchise cricket.
So, right, next question. John Seeley is asking you about the reputation of West Indies cricket and Barbados leading such.
Yeah, definitely. I think when Barbados cricket is strong, West Indies cricket is strong. And however, I think that is a given that we can only be as strong as our facilities and our infrastructure. Like we can never be better than our facilities. We can never be better than our infrastructure. So I would say, as I alluded to earlier, with what we are faced with currently in the Caribbean and Barbados, we do well to be as good as we are. I really believe that. Obviously, there's always room for improvement in our development as cricketers, but as I say, with what we are faced with, and I think for my purposes as a cricketer who's still trying to play professional cricket, I can't go into everything that we face, right, on a daily basis. But I am sure that persons out there who work in a normal office jobs would know that to provide their best daily, they need to be in the best working environment. Obviously, when working environments are toxic, then we are not able to we often are not able to produce as much as we can produce in environments where the the culture is fluid and there's not a lot of bogging us down. So I say I still want to be a professional cricketer, so I am not at liberty to speak on everything that we go through because I know that these platforms go fairly far away, and I know that I will get phone calls tomorrow about what I said today or tonight. So I kind of still gotta be mindful of what I say, but definitely, um, I think
Okay.
that. the
Play it
viewers
safe.
here, huh? Pardon?
Play it safe and along the ground.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I gotta play safe. I gotta play safe. But definitely, I think that if I could, if I could say anything to the viewers, it would be to say that you, or I should say, we, John probably does not know what goes on behind the scenes and what creators have to face on a daily basis. And as I alluded to earlier on the show, we only get to see what is on television. So we only get to see West Indies playing on TV. You don't get to see what the average professional cricketer has to go through on a day-to-day basis to get to that level on TV. We don't get to see that as compared to Nathan Lyon in Australia, as I alluded to earlier. We don't get to see his working environment and his facilities and what he has at his disposal as opposed to Shane Mosley in Barbados or Shem Holder in Barbados or Shamar Joseph in Guyana. Because he didn't have the best facilities. I could put that to you. But obviously, as I say, he's a freak of nature, and he was able to get to where he is because
Yes.
he worked hard. He took a gamble.
Yeah.
But
Well, speaking of Shamar Joseph, what
mhm,
we're gonna do, we're gonna take a short break, and we're gonna show a clip of Shamar Joseph, um, and show the people exactly what you're speaking about. It's a short,
mhm.
it's not very long, from YouTube, so we can show the audience what is happening. So yeah, Shamar Joseph, let's give him an eye.
Career with the wicket of Steve Smith and ended his first full Test series with the West Indies by playing a key role with both bat and ball as they registered a big win over Australia at the Gabba. But the cricketing of Shamar Joseph has been anything but a smooth ride. In this video, we will take a look at the arduous journey that Joseph has taken to the very top of the sport we all love. Joseph was born and raised in Baracara, a village of about 350 people in the East Berbice Corentin region of Guyana. The village of Baracara is about 225 kilometers up the Kanye River, and getting there usually takes 2 days by boat from the port city of New Amsterdam. When growing up, Joseph had little to none of the facilities that most city folk take for granted. The village only reportedly got internet connections in the year 2018, and the main source of entertainment for the village folk was a sole black and white television used by everyone who lived there. It was in these humble beginnings that Joseph, who idolized West Indian pace bowling legends Curtly Ambrose and Courtney Walsh, was raised. When he first took up cricket, he bowled with fruits such as lemons, limes, guavas, and peaches before later using state balls. In order to support his family, however, he first worked alongside his siblings and father in felling logs. After an incident in which he was nearly hit by a tree, he moved to New Amsterdam to find different work. He first worked as a construction worker and then as a security guard, often working arduous 12-hour long shifts across the day and leaving himself no room to work on his cricket. He would eventually quit working and, with the support of his fiancée, began to pursue cricket full time. He impressed at the start of his domestic career for Guyana, but really caught the eye of many in the 2023 edition of the Caribbean Premier League, where he played 2 games for the Guyana Amazon Warriors as they emerged champions. His raw speed and consistency made him stand out as a future prospect, but his big call up came much earlier than expected when he was named in the West Indies Test squad for the two Test series against Australia. Two tests and 13 wickets later, the whole world knows the name Shamar Joseph. The West Indies will hope that he continues to prioritize Test cricket in the near and distant future. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, you can let us know in the comments below, and don't
Yes, yes. So that was Shamar Joseph. However, I am a intergenerational person, and I usually like to give a perspective from the youth and the elders. And I saw in that clip just now, uh, the guy speaking about Ambrose and I grew up watching Ambrose on television. And Ambrose was one of our best bowlers. So what we wanted to do here, we played Shamar, but I want to give Ambrose now some time on the screen, and then we could make a comparison as to what was the difference between the times with Mr. Ambrose and now Shamar Joseph. So we're gonna put that clip up. Um, yeah, but let's welcome our neighborhood dog back with us. He's barking quite loudly today. So we want to welcome him back. And in the meantime, we're gonna view, sorry, Curly Ambrose and what Mr. Ambrose did during his time as a bowler.
And that's it. Curly Ambrose.
That's out. Robin Smith is gone. Oh, that's very close first ball. And that's exactly the start that Curtly Ambrose and Richard Richardson would really have dreamed of. Curtly Ambrose absolutely dead on target. The first ball of England's second innings. And Michael Atherton is going to do nothing more for the rest of this game than watch.
The West Indies couldn't have asked for a better start at all. Curtly Ambrose immediately on target. Atherton being hit plumb in front. Well, there's nothing wrong with that at all. Plumb in front, and England lose their first wicket on 0.
First runs for England. Oh, trouble here, trouble. This is absolute disaster for England. And that really is a complete tragedy. Mark Ramprakash is the man run out. England are now 1 for 2. And as Mark Ramprakash came back for a second run there to take on Courtney Walsh's arm, we'll have a look at this in a moment, he found himself with Curtly Ambrose blocking his way, changed his mind. That was where the indecision came in. Tucked away to long leg. Courtney Walsh has 15 yards to his left to make. Ramprakash turns, hesitates. Curtly Ambrose in the middle of the wicket there. Alex Stewart has come. And although the throw is 2 yards off target, that was the result. Richardson across quickly but unable to stop it. A little bit of a bobble as that ball reached the West Indies captain. That's out. Robin Smith has gone. What more can you ask of Curtly Ambrose? If ever you've got a crisis, send for Curtly, and that's the end of the crisis. Robin Smith comprehensively beaten as he played forward. England in complete disarray.
Well, Curtly Ambrose, great fast bowler for the West Indies, has done it again. I've seen Robin Smith get bowled for the second time now in this series on the forward defensive. And each time after the ball has passed, the stroke looks almost correct. But the gap was there, the ball went right through. England now 5 for 3.
Well, that's past Keith Atherton. And that'll run away for 4. It's a nice shot from Graham Hick, nicely timed. Curtly Ambrose knows it's out. That's a thin little nick from Graham Hick. And this man Ambrose can do absolutely no wrong whatsoever. An indeterminate shot from Graham Hick really hasn't been his day at all. If it's anyone's day, it's certainly Curtly Ambrose's.
Well, just as I said, Curtly Ambrose wouldn't have minded those 3 runs. Graham Hick just pushing at this delivery just outside the off stump. Feet not really moving at all. And Curtly Ambrose does it again. Graham Hick wouldn't want to be seeing this man too often. England now 21 for 4 and not in a very good position at all.
It's going to be into the boundary. Hit it in the air, but hit it well enough. That's it. Wicket number 5. Curtly Ambrose strikes once more. The Queen's Park Oval is absolutely jumping. England are 26 for 5.
Well, what a performance by Curtly Ambrose. I've said all along, he's a class act, a truly great bowler. The only great bowler on show. There's some good ones, but great he really is. Fantastic performance. He's just blowing away England. Fast, hostile, accurate. Really played all around that Alex Stewart. The ball didn't do a lot. It was the line, it was the length of it, and the pace and aggression. 26 for 5.
That's gone. 6 out. Brian Rao takes the catch at the first slip. England are 27 for 6. An unbelievable collapse here.
Yes, well, we didn't play all in the clip because we don't have the time. However, we saw the master and we saw the student, right? And I wanted you, as an observer, also a player as well, to give us your perspective, your sorry, to give your alternate view really on um, the motivational story of a Shamar Joseph as a young person looking on to more senior, experienced players like Mr. Ambrose. Like myself as a young person interested in the economy and politics and stuff like that, I look to guys who've done it before, the experienced, more wisdom, persons with wisdom, and I looked on. I learned from them. I learned from David Thompson. I learned from Owen Alpha. I learned from Fernando Stewart. I learned from Errol Barrow. Um, Believe it or not, we look on and we learn from your Motley as well. Um, and that I would say I'm still in practice at this time, and these personalities have done it before. And here we have Shamar Joseph coming on the scene, obviously watching um, Mr. Ambrose and watching the Sir Garfield Sobers and watching all of these elder, brilliant West Indies players and saying, maybe I can be the future of West Indies cricket. Um, Maybe I could contribute to its development. So what were you thinking here, Chad, after watching those two videos?
I got all that view, um, in the sense that, so I think cricket landscape has changed a lot from the video that you would have showed with Ambrose. Obviously Ambrose is a very accurate bowler, a very good bowler in his own right. Obviously he would have played a lot more Test cricket than Shamar Joseph will ever play. Um, so in a sense, yes, Shamar can learn from Mr. Ambrose, but also I think that there's a lot that he will not be able to learn from watching Ambrose, because the skill set that is needed now in the T20 cricket world that we live in, and T10, which is obviously a developing format of the game, but it's going to be very prevalent in the coming years. I don't think that those guys can claim to know a lot of, to be quite honest with you. So how can I relate it? I guess how we can relate it to the modern world, or I should say another sport, is that football in the 80s, I guess 70s and 80s, basketball in the 70s and 80s is a completely different game to what it is now. So I would say that he can learn from Mr. Ambrose, and yes, obviously he can be motivated from watching him bowl, but I believe that he will have to look probably to a modern fast bowler, more like probably like Alzari Joseph, who is now I guess a modern day superstar, who is kind of like a hybrid. So he's able to play all formats of the game to learn from, because that skill set that Mr. Ambrose has right now or had, it's kind of going out because you're not going to play a lot of test cricket or I should say for the cricket in the coming years, if you're being completely honest. So the skill set as they did in that is not going to be as prevalent um, no, or I should say in the future. So my alternate view is that yes, he can learn a little, but he will still have a lot to learn from because Mr. Ambrose, well, I would say that Mr. Ambrose probably would be very good in this time as well. But in this modern day world, chalk and cheese, I would say.
All right. So you're saying we shouldn't we shouldn't compare because
We
it's
can't
just different. Well, we can't compare.
we can't compare. Well, that's my opinion
Yes.
because it's like comparing, in my opinion, comparing basketball, the NBA in the 1980s to the NBA now. Like the game has changed tremendously. So I would not be able to like I would not compare say um I wouldn't compare LeBron and Michael Jordan.
Hmm.
I
Well,
wouldn't I
that's
wouldn't
true though.
compare.
I agree. Well, this is where I agree with you. No, in terms of comparing uh personalities from different eras, I agree with that perspective. I'm not a huge basketball fan. I don't know much about
Yeah, I'm not a
basketball,
huge basketball fan either.
but still, um, Michael Jordan and LeBron are two completely different beasts in the sense
Yeah,
of it, right? And to compare them would be to take away the greatness and the contributions of each player for the time that they are in. Realistically, I think that Michael Jordan may struggle in modern basketball, and if we
yeah,
had LeBron back in those times, maybe he may have not been LeBron James.
for
So,
sure. But
sorry, go ahead.
my question to you is is politics no a different beast to what it was say in the 70s and 80s, and how has it changed? Because as I could point out to you in cricket, fast bowling now is a different beast because the skill set. I guess it could be a little more the skill set. No, it's completely different. Or I should say the skill set now in a short format, the short format world that we live in cricket is different to what Mr. Ambrose would have been able to produce. So my question to you would be: is politics now different to what it would have been in the 80s, or I should say the 70s and 80s, and how so?
Yeah.
And
Well,
how would you look to those politicians in the past for your own development?
well, that's a very interesting question. It's not often people ask you moderator questions, so I'm very
Mhm.
happy for that one. But realistically, I when I watch these fellas, I look for similarities to know, and it has changed drastically in that the playing field they had to work with was much easier than now. Politics in this day and age has become extremely monetized.
Mhm.
So, where there was a high level of volunteerism, where people were not educated to the levels that they're educated to know, and the majority of the population they had the high levels of education that they have now, and the advent of social media and the speeding up, streaming of information, uh, the terrain was very different back then. So you had politicians had educated. We had lawyers, businessmen, and the like for quite some time. But you still had persons who have or had a love and that deep love for community. They had that love for giving back. So even though many of them went on to educate themselves at high levels, they always give back to communities. Nowadays, I find politics is more about money. You have persons coming into the space more interested in the social status, the power, what it could do for personal advancement and self-aggrandizement, and not so much community. So, um, the attraction mainly to politicians were pension. I know I can get my pension at 50, so I can go. So that the motivation has changed, the personnel and the thinking of the STR fellows has changed. At that time, if you articulated a philosophy for development of the country, you mounted platforms and you got up there, people would support ideals and ideologies for community. Nowadays, it's very difficult. We still have that to some extent. However, it has changed drastically since the 90s to now, where you have to have a philosophy, a development agenda, but also it comes back down to money. So who has deeper pockets would more easily be successful in politics because they're able to capitalize on the level of mendicancy and poverty in society, where people will think about their bellies and what they could eat first, as opposed to thinking about community and what's good for country. So we have persons who have the wherewithal, financial wherewithal, capitalizing on that, and it's creating a bigger and bigger divide in politics. So rolling back the years again, at that time, coming into politics and splurging money wasn't necessarily the way to win. And you could spend a lot of money, but you still won't win if what you were saying as a politician and your ideals and your life they match what you were saying. People didn't care how much money you had or would give out, right? There was a saying, corned beef and biscuit politics, where politicians would come in communities and buy corned beef and biscuits and some rum and put there and go into rum shops and entice voters. But no, it has gone past corned beef and biscuits and it's now about $500 bills and right in t-shirts. is about hats and dressing up and pretty colors and who has the flashiest campaign and who has the most money and who has the most degrees. So the politics has definitely changed. I can't tell you if it would do well politics yesteryear or then, but I said this is my time now. This is a different day and age, and it would not to compare me to the older politicians would do well. I mean, recently somebody said that Kimar Stewart reminds them of an Errol Barrow and a David Thompson in one body, right? So elder persons living in that day and age could see similarities as it relates to personalities, speech, how you put yourself over, how you articulate respective, and they will see similarities. And if that's from an older person, if you ask a younger person about Kimara Stewart, I don't think that they would give you such a similar uh, opinion.
Hmm.
Right? So that's basically my experience there. So what do you think?
That's an interesting take. Obviously, it lead me to a few questions of my own. So you think that if you win the social media game, that because obviously, well, I should say, from my limited understanding of politics, and obviously I'm not very au fait with politics. I know my party, and that's basically because it was passed down from my grandfather to my father to me. Right? I'm not I'm not very much deep into politics, but I know of the importance of social media. So my question to you is, if you were to win a social media game, because at the end of the day, it's really just a game, right? And everybody playing at different levels. But if you was to win the social media game, if you think that it would impact your political career positively.
But this is the thing, is not necessarily about the social media game per se. Social media is the avenue where most people are at, even the elderly. Um, we don't necessarily the means and ways of communication has changed. So whereas you had to buy the Nation newspaper or buy the Advocate or go to a political meeting to get information, that has changed now. So if you want to research any politician, anybody really, you just go and take a phone, come on to social media, and there's the information. You don't have to rely on the politician anymore for information. So I have to put the information where the people is, right? Where the people frequent. So um likes and views and stuff all depending on your content, how you engage your audience, if what you're saying means something to them. And let's compare again. I spoke about information and philosophy about the elderly statesmen, where they would have to mount political platforms to get that information out there. But with me now, as a modern politician, I come on social media and I put the same information out there, right? So we say we innovate. If you look at, we still have some senior politicians in the mix, and there's a huge disparity in the way I communicate to the public and they communicate to the public, right? If they want to survive in the new day and age, like how any business wants to survive in this day and age, you have to innovate the way you communicate to the public. So if we keep all means and ways of communication, your message gets diluted because the pool of people that you're reaching is smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. An example, if you rely only on getting a headline in the nation, uh, how many people really buy newspapers in this day and age?
Not many.
It's good. So that answers your question.
My
But
next question, this way for the question,
yes.
is if you think that this cybercrime act, how will it affect politics? How will it affect your push to disseminate information?
Well, recently on Monday, I spoke to Shanique Miller in Bahamas on Eyewitness News in the Bahamas.
Mm,
We discussed some elements of the cybercrime bill as well. Um, I've said and I maintain my position that free speech is on the track. The free use of social media is on the track, notwithstanding the fact that I believe there should be some level of regulation of social media. The same way there's regulation in real life, where you just cannot defame people in terms of telling open lies. I don't believe you should be putting people's nudes online and sharing them around. Um, Anything defamatory, don't support child porn, anything like that. There should be regulation for that. Um,
mm.
However, there are some words in the legislation which directly lead me to think that they're trying to regulate and to shield certain elements of society from open criticism, be it truth or not. So, if you regulate social media to the level that the policymakers are intended to do, then you skew information to suit particular narratives and to shield self from criticism. Um, United Nations, our country's constitutions, the highest levels of bodies in the world, all pride themselves on free speech, freedom of opinion, freedom of association, freedom of expression, and the like. So I personally will not support any legislation in any country. I mean, if I have to fly from here to Brazil to protest a bill in Brazil, which restricts free speech, I will do that. And I say that to you too because and I'm just relating it back to the cricket here as well. There are many interviews done with cricketers, particularly the captains after they win. And I quite remember an instance. This doesn't have anything to do with free speech per se, but I saw Chris Gill um, giving an interview to I think it was an Australian reporter.
A
Uh,
female.
yes, and he
Mhm.
told her that she was good looking and stuff like that. Whatever, whatever, whatever. No, I'm not saying that I necessarily agree or I support what Chris Gill is saying, but I'm looking at it from the angle of free speech,
Mhm.
right? Um, if you don't have free speech. Like, I mean, and just taking some of what you said earlier, that you would not want to say everything you want to say because there's a high risk that your chances for future selection may be impacted based on what you said. I don't think that we should live in a society where that happens. I don't think that you will necessarily come out here and defame or scandal any governing bodies or openly criticize any of your cricketing bodies, and I quite frankly would never encourage you to do so. However, if there's factual information that you have to share, I believe that you should be able to do so on the internet without those restrictions or guards, in which somebody could claim that you insulted them, that you brought serious emotional distress to them. So maybe one of the selectors could say, man, that guy, Chad Williams, he caused me serious emotional distress by saying that um, BCA ain't handling this thing right, or something like that. All of that is captured in the legislation, right? So I don't support the push from that angle.
Yeah, definitely. But as I say, I don't know of any territories, or I should say, you could correct me, but where if you speak on persons that have power, that they wouldn't, in a sense, hold it against you. So, I mean, the whole free speech act, as I say, I have not read through it, but I understand. I have your politics and cricket, your views. Um, that could be a whole another 2 hours. But I, I, I understand the need for. Well, you choose my words wisely, but I understand the need for the leaders in power to kind of restrict, certain commentary, um, and I am sure that if certain powers had, or I should say, certain parties had the power that the incumbent leader has, they would probably do the same, right? Um, but politics and cricket, obviously, we know that in every territory throughout the Caribbean, and I find that in weaker cricket structures, politics plays a bigger role, right? And I I I would dare say in weaker countries as well, I just say in general, politics plays a bigger role as well. So, for example, we relate it back to cricket, a man will get picked based on, as I said, this stating, this talking generally, it's talking generally. A man will get picked based on the club he plays for, where he went to school, more than his actual performance, right? And that, as I said, not related it to Barbados in particular, but I find that in territories that are stronger, or I should say are weaker, politics plays a bigger role. It shouldn't be. You should have people getting picked purely on performance. I should say purely because you can go pick a guy that you can see that this guy is special and not necessarily has performed as yet to back up what you can see with your naked eye. But for sure, in Caribbean, politics plays a big role, and
Well,
we can see.
you
Yeah,
you are being nice. I don't have to be so nice because I'm not up for West Indies selection or any selection. So I will say this: politics is the problem with Caribbean cricket, and you have Caribbean prime ministers who insert themselves into cricket, right? I saw the Barbados Prime Minister giving a speech to cricketers at UWI. Now, I have no qualm with Caribbean leaders being passionate about cricket. Let me say that. And I think all Caribbean leaders should support cricket and not just support it verbally, but back it and put some resources, financial resources behind the cricket. We all have sports budgets in the region. And we don't just want fans and people who want to insert themselves and play politics in cricket, but we also need some financial resources to back it. No, Barbados, I think, has a more structured society. However, there's a stench of elite behavior and classism in cricket that I personally experienced. Now, let me say this. At school, I was dropped from my own cricket team because I didn't have a haircut. A black man, a black man like me, right, that used to wear jerry curls, dropped me from the team for not having a haircut, black hair like this, that he wanted me to ball it off, right? That has nothing to do with cricket. That has nothing to do with ability, talent, anything, right? And I noticed that there was this type of elite behavior happening in terms of the selection of players of cricket because every coach at the school doesn't let you. You could be the best player. You didn't get no recommendation to go any further. And a lot of the talent in Barbados is based. Sometimes I find I didn't want to bring it down to this, but I taking a point. Sometimes which school you go to, who you're associated with, who your mother and father is. That problem is very pervasive in Barbadian society and in Barbadian cricket selection. And I think that we need to get past issues like that. And to make matters much worse, um, when you now have political interference in something like cricket, basically, there's not speaking of any specific government, but this governments. When you put this over administrative emphasis on cricket, you open the door for opportunistic persons, like I said earlier, to be benefiting from the admin side. So all of the grants, all of the I call it largest. It doesn't ever make it to the players, right? And then you have people who want to cherry pick who they want to continue this elite type of cricket. And I think that that is where cricket is being problematic. And if I go much further now to the region, I would say that when you look at the West Indies team, you have selection from countries like Barbados, Jamaica. You can help me here.
I could interject quickly and say
Yes.
that is changing now because right now, I should say territory that is in control of cricket in West Indies is the Windward Islands. So we are seeing now a lot of, I should say, island cricketers being selected because Shallow, I should say, I think his name Kishore Shallow is the president of Cricket West Indies. He's appointed Miles Bascom, who's also from St. Vincent, as the cricket director. So obviously, there's a kind of shift in power in our cricket in the Caribbean. So we are seeing that being represented on the West Indies team, which is, I should say, it's all well and good to some extent because obviously when Barbados is in control, then you tend to find out more Barbados made the team. And when Ghana is in control, you tend to find out more Ghanaians made the team. So, yeah, I guess that goes back to politics as well. Yeah, this at SD and H99, this is exactly what I'm saying. Our infrastructure and our strategies are very outdated.
We have a question here. Oswald is saying there was a youngster with a surname Jones. He was doing good in local cricket. What became of him?
I'm thinking that he's referring to Jerome Jones, who plays for the Wildy Sports Club. But I think that Jerome has become disillusioned with Barbados cricket and has, well, I can't speak for him, but um, I am sure that I'm sure that he. I'm not sure. I'm not too sure that he's interested in pursuing cricket on a well locally any further. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think that he's very happy with how he has been treated over the years.
Hey. We have a question here from Pete Way saying, I recall back in 2008, I was told by a cricket administrator from St. Kitts and Nevis that politics impacts and influences local, regional, and West Indies cricket. Hence, my questions to Chad to get his views. But
We-
we got to remember that we can't put Chad in the limelight. We want Chad to have a very successful career for the future. Um, so, yes, well, over to you,
I
Chad.
gotta be yeah, I gotta be kind of careful, obviously, with what I say, but definitely in cricket in the Caribbean, there's politics. You're gonna get around that, and obviously the I guess like any other administration, if I guess to do it in football as well, if Jose Mourinho comes to manage a club, he would bring his own backroom staff along with him. And obviously, we see that kind of in cricket as well. Obviously, if if Mr. Shallow is leading cricket West Indies, he would obviously work along with persons that he is comfortable working with. Martin, you muted.
Sorry, yes, as I was saying, I didn't recognize the time is 9:09. Time flew so
Yeah,
fast.
yeah.
But we are at 105 persons watching. So thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to like and share. We're not over yet. But time is winding down because we're coming into the last half of the segment. Um, so we're having um, good discussion, fair and frank discussion with Chad Williams, Barbados cricketer. And we're hearing his alternate views on what needs to be done to unlock the economic benefits, social benefits, political benefits to cricket. So I'm hoping some of the administrators are taking some of the ideas on board, see them as ideas, not necessarily critiques, to help improve the administration of the system. We're hoping that some investors could be listening to this as well and to reach out and to help to shape cricket in the region. Um, politics. Right, we have a John City here saying, I don't know if his question is to me or chat, but he's saying politics is a very broad word. Do you mean boardroom politics or national politics that influences the cricket? Now I can jump in here and say that I saw a comment from a minister of cabinet in Barbados saying that there's something called boardroom gangsters who basically block and rigmarole intended plans and ideas. So, with the admission from the executive level that boardroom gangsters are a problem, um, I would segue now and say that cricket is governed by administrators. And if we don't think that there's influence from the national level as to who gets on the boards of the governing bodies of cricket, we need to think again. If we don't think that there are or there is interference in the governing bodies of football, the BFA, then we really need to think again. If we don't think that there's uh political, we just had a former member of parliament, Noel Lynch, who is the chairman of the sorry, right. We just had Mr. Noel Lynch, who is the chairman of Cricket World Cup. He was now elect. He just came back from an ambassador's job over in US, and he is now the chairman of the Barbados Athletic Association. So there is political influence at all levels on the administration of sports in the country and throughout the region, right? So my thinking is, and I made the point earlier, private sector development of cricket allow the private sector in, not just as a sponsor, not just to be giving gloves or bats and gear and marketing, but as a venture, we could step in and start to develop it from the private sector and let governments basically take themselves out the way in trying to politic the situation. That's my suggestion. But we will leave that politics and politics out the conversation because this is really not a political platform. This is a more economic platform. However, we don't shy away from the hard questions. We take the questions. However, but I wanted to move on. I wanted to touch next, Chad, because time is getting away from us. I wanted to touch next on Cricket World Cup. We have, well, this is the second Cricket World Cup that we are hosting uh, in Barbados. We had World Cup Cricket 2007, and now we have World Cup Cricket 2023. Um, how are we to benefit from Cricket World Cup 2024? So how are we to benefit from Cricket World Cup 2024 being hosted at Kensington Oval in Barbados?
Well, I hoping that um, we can have some facility improvement in Barbados and throughout the region. Obviously, we having some of the grounds around the region improved, obviously to meet the standards of the ICC. And we are supposed to be having an indoor facility, the first indoor facility in Barbados I've been hearing. So I'm hoping that as a result, we can have those things so that we can improve the practice here, cricket practice here in the Caribbean. Obviously, cricket practice is important to development, to skill development, and basic necessities we kind of lack. So, so yeah, I hoping that as a result of the money that's put into the to cricket from the World Cup and from ICC, we can have better facilities.
Okay. Well, we are spending around $50 million to host a World Cup. You made the point earlier that we usually make a loss when we hold or we play test cricket. Um, give us a bit of information as to what type of World Cup. This is a test cricket World Cup, a 1 day,
No,
2020,
this is a T20 World Cup,
right?
so
T20.
20 overs, yeah.
Right. And we'll be having teams from England,
We have
Australia, New
teams.
Zealand.
Yeah, we have teams from England, Australia, New Zealand, Pakistan, India, Afghanistan, and some other smaller territories. I think Uganda, I think USA, and I don't think Canada qualified. But those are the territories that are going to be participating in the World Cup.
Okay, so we bring these teams to Barbados. How long is the World Cup, by the way?
The World Cup is about 6 weeks.
6 weeks. And all of the games are going to be played at Kensington Oval.
Well, the game, oh yeah, so all the games that are here are going to play at Kensington Oval, but obviously there's going to be practice here as well. So the grounds that the teams will be practicing on, as I alluded to earlier, would be UB, which would be 3W's Oval, um, Windward, which is in St. Philip, Lucas Street, and Police Sports Ground, which is close to the Globe.
Yeah. And
So those are the facilities. Yeah.
sorry, what level of interaction with local players, local club players, um, have with the touring teams that are coming to the region?
Well, it wouldn't be any big level of interaction. Obviously, um, so for example, a lot of teams require like net bowlers, something called a net bowler, where who is someone who just goes to the respective practices and help. Um, so he would go and bowl at the players to give them practice. But apart from that, it wouldn't be any massive interaction with the players. I guess a youngster will go and take it upon himself to go down to the practice and go and just directly approach one of his heroes to try to get information if he sees fit. But apart from that, it wouldn't be any interaction other than being able to see their players live, their favorite players live. Team, you muted again.
So as a futuristic plan, wouldn't it be ideal to have more interaction with the touring teams for future development, uh, networks, connections, allowing? I mean, I guess it would have to be a certain standard of playing as well to be allowed uh, net bowling, as you would say.
Yeah,
But I find that, and this is the problem many people have, that when usually international teams come to Barbados, there's not much opportunity for that. Let's just we have these cricketers, but how about opening up the schools to allow some of the international cricketers to take a day or two to come in and maybe go around the island to a cricket club. Maybe come and sit in a Sunday at one of our normal cricket grounds and just observe, just watch, be a part of the cricket and community life in Barbados, bringing cricket back into the community in a very serious way. I'm sure that if we heard that, say, one of the star players is going to be in the community, let's just say at Gaw Hill in St. John or Market Hill in St. George or even at Isolation, that we could
hmm
have a packed cricket ground. The other day we had a cricket game called uh, van drivers versus conductors at
yeah, that
Spice
was
Town.
burst.
I wasn't able to make it, but it was full. It was
Yeah,
packed.
it was
Cricket back
packed. Yeah.
into the community. So how do you see the players playing a role, the international players playing a role in bringing back cricket into the consciousness of the island as a serious community activity?
Yeah, definitely. I think that is important, or it would be important for Cricket West Indies to make sure that we have some of these players going out into the country, or I should say the country in the varying territories, because it's all well and good to come and be at. It's all well and good to come and to the globe and or I should say police sports ground and just be stationed there. But I would like to see the cricketers go to some of the rural grounds and really get in and amongst the people of the country. Like I think that will really make a difference. And obviously that this guy, I guess he can answer that, but that would make a difference. And obviously, like them low interactions is what was really uh is what was really spark a cricketer to come and see. Look, I just see Shea Hope, my hero at Isolation or at North Stars in St. Lucie. And that's really what really impacts a career, and that's what really can start a youngster off in his journey to professional career, knowing that look, I just see Shea Hope and I want to be Shea Hope. I want to be that person. I want to be in that position. And I think that West Indies cricket or cricket West Indies need to really make it a priority to have these players interjected into the community. But you would have spoken on that game I think that game was played in Spice Town. We gotta have more of that as well. But as I say, as you correctly pointed out, I think that it needs to be facilitated by the private sector. But I am not sure at the moment that cricket is attractive to the private sector as it was probably in the same 70s and 80s. So we gotta find a way, and obviously that is a challenge for the BCA. Try to get the private sector back on board fully to get money back into cricket in Barbados, because obviously they can't do it all. They need the help of businessmen. I believe businessmen are important to development cricket. They need the help of businessmen to put some more money into cricket so that we can have more money. We can have players playing for money, more money in Barbados cricket. Because I can tell you something, not bad cricket that was put on recently. Name many players that are gonna miss that cricket, because this is one of the few tournaments that people getting paid for, right? It's not a big amount of money. I can tell you straight off the bat. Players were paid $125 per match, and we would have played about 10 games up until the knockout stages. So that's not a big set of money, but players can run and run for that money because we are accustomed to playing for nothing when the weekend come. So if he's an amateur cricketer and not playing professional cricket, you can run for that. You can run for that money because it is money. It's something that you can put back into your cricket. And cricket is not cheap. I can tell you that. I can give you some numbers because I personally put a lot of money into my cricket, into my own development. So, for example, you saying something? Oh, right. So, for example, if I want to go hit balls tonight, there's only one in their facility that is private, put on by a guy, Antonio Aline, who is in administration in Cricket West Indies now. But he has his own in their facility in St. Philip, close to Church Village. So if I personally want to go hit balls, I got to pay $45 for an hour session, pretty much, right? And obviously, if I want to hit more balls than that, 2 hours, I got to pay $75. And to be a good cricketer, you got to practice every single day. And then I got to get my gym right. So I got to go pay a trainer, right? And that itself is not cheap. And if I want to be a professional cricketer, I got to eat right too. And we all know how expensive it is to eat properly in Barbados. I mean the corn curls, I mean the fast food, I mean proper food. Proper food is not cheap, right? And you can see if I want to hit balls for three nights a week, I'm looking at upwards of $200, right? So that is per week. If I want to hit for 3 nights, 4 nights a week, that's per week. And then I still gotta go to the gym when the week come, and I gotta do 3 to 4 nights or days of gym a week. And then I still gotta make sure that I'm fed well. So I gotta make sure that I'm buying the right groceries. And if you're in a pro, the money can't back in. All right? And then we don't have the facilities that I can say, look, I can get tomorrow morning and practice. I can say get tomorrow morning if rain fall, I can't practice. Right? If rain fall hard enough, I can practice anymore. I'm practicing at call off in the morning. I can't practice the evening later because it's too wet. Whereas the man in England, rain fall in the morning, you can practice in the morning in their facility. I ain't got that liberty. Right? But you expecting me to compete with this guy in England that is able to practice all year round, all day long. How is it possible? How is it possible for me to compete with him when I could only afford to pay for 3 sessions a week, right? Batting practice, and he is able to get 6 and 7 sessions a week for as long as he wants. How you expect me to compete? How you expect me to compete? Like that's why I say, like, a lot of people don't really understand what it takes to be a professional cricketer, or it takes to be a pro at any sport, right? And people just talk off of what they see on TV. So you can understand when a Malik Hetmer or a Malik Puran is able to rise to that level where they could command $1 million a year, or I should say, no, $1 million a year, because they make a lot more than that. But they're able to command $1 million a tournament. coming from what they come from and how they are being treated by Cricket West Indies, you can understand why they are not very interested in playing for West Indies, because you come from this, right? A lot of times they are not treated well by Cricket West Indies. And yet John Public expects them to run and play for West Indies. Why? Why am I going to run and play for West Indies? You can help me understand. You understand what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people don't understand and just talk from a position of ignorance, right? And I would say sometimes get emotional because I know personally what I put into my cricket. I know personally what others put into their cricket to get to a decent standard, right? To try to maximize on their ability. But yet, we are quite down in public. And yes, cricket is struggling in Barbados, and cricket is struggling in the Caribbean to some extent. We don't got the same numbers of players playing cricket. But there's reasons for that, right? There's definitely reasons for that. And it really needs or begs for people to get creative in trying to get back cricket in the hearts and minds of the children first, because now a lot more people are competing, a lot more is competing for the minds and the time of children. You got social media, you got games, you got a lot more competing for the times and the attention of children, right? And as a result, we're seeing less people playing cricket. So we really need to get creative. I say it's not just cricket, it's football, it's athletics. I am sure that persons of the past generation would think that cricket or football in Barbados is regressing, right? But yeah, got a lot of work to do.
Okay, well, I have, you could see this guide I have here on the screen.
Yeah.
Yes. So for those who don't know, as the Rifa Junior, as you may know, is a international cricket umpire, right? And he, as a Barbadian, um, he then does he played cricket as far as I know.
Yeah, he played for
Uh,
Barbados like, at junior level.
yes. However, he chose to take the route of umpiring as opposed to focusing on the playing aspect of cricket. And he is becoming successful, in my estimation, in what he does as an umpire, being one of the youngest umpires um, coming from the Caribbean to make it to that international level. So I'll just ask you to comment on Mr. Refer and what he has been able to achieve, not from the playing aspect, but from the umpiring avenue.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, that's another avenue that going money as well. Yes, he would have identified early that cricket was probably not going to be his way. I should say the playing cricket was not going to be his way, and would have gone into umpiring. Umpiring has a lot of money as well. So there are other avenues in cricket, and as I say, but you need children to get into cricket first to be able to see the avenues. So kudos to Mr. Rifa. I know him personally, a good fella. But yeah, as I say, you need it would have been hard for him to go into cricket or go into umpiring if he had not first started playing cricket. And we having a lot as there's a massive decline in numbers of children playing cricket, right? So, and as I say, it's not only here, right? Obviously, we are affected more so than other nations, but in England as well, I would have been able to go and play cricket in England, and they are affected as well. But their infrastructure is a lot more attractive to people wanting to play cricket. A youngster could see listen, I could see away in cricket because I know that if I do XYZ, I will have a professional career. Here, it's not so certain. So the odds are not stacked in our favor. And this ain't a sad story, right? This is the facts. This is the facts. I ain't here to many excuses. I just here to talk facts.
Yes, well, it's like what you're saying. Uh, you don't. I gonna say Emerson Bob is saying Charlie is speaking the truth. But if these clowns listen to this, they will victimize you. No, let me say this. Um, Inviting Chad here, it was never, or the intention of alternative views is never to give the negative perspective, but it's more of an empowering message as to what are the issues, what can be done to solve the issues. So I would discourage any thoughts about the negative aspect. Um, the idea was to bring attention to the issues and in cricket, and who else better than somebody who has the living experience to show what we can do to help the country. It is about assisting. It is about raising facts and information, putting the information out there, and allowing the respective persons to follow that lead and to implement some good ideas that can help to develop the country. I am sure that we could save quite a bit of the population, particularly young boys and men who are finding themselves in trouble with the law. If we had proper cricketing facilities, uh, we could save many of them. As Mr. Joseph said in his interview, that if we took quite, there's a lot of talent languishing on the streets and on the blocks and even in prison. Um, it's just there, and cricket is on the decline. So, in this day and age, we are looking at moving forward. We're looking at upliftment. So we would discourage any potential actionable victimization and to encourage the respective persons to take the information as it is. Um, we have some support in the comments for Chad. Biz says that Chad seems to have the correct mindset. Uh, Focus and hardworking young man, you deserve all the success you achieve. Um, Pedro said Chad hasn't misspoken as yet. We have another question saying, is Herman Griffith tournament still does it still exist?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
yes. And then we have Pete Way asking, could you tell us about some of the other opportunities in cricket?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. Um, obviously cricket coaching is a big one. Um, and that's something that well, I have a coaching degree as well, but I'm not sure that I at this point in time I'm too enthusiastic to coach. Obviously, I still see some future in my career, so I would not be going into that as yet. Um, obviously, there's coaching, there's umpiring, there's obviously a career administration, as we alluded to earlier. Um, obviously, if you go to school, you get a degree. Again, it's not a straightforward path, but you can go into administration as well. Obviously, there's careers as a trainer, physios. Um, I would say that those kind of make up so many careers that are in cricket. As I say, we gotta try to encourage the youth to play cricket first, right? To be able to see these avenues and be able to be exposed to these avenues.
We have some comments. We've actually come to 9:30. We usually wrap up around this time. So
Hmm.
we're gonna probably spend a few more minutes winding down. Um, we have SDNet saying here that administrators need to set up an exhibition game during as the Riyadh season and get those coins flowing. I agree. I see there are booths set up all around. Uh, Invest Barbados. We just went to Dubai. We had booths set up all over. But there's seemingly not really a push for sporting activity as a viable career. As you said, Chad, there's millions of dollars available to
Yeah,
players, which could substantially benefit the country in terms of remittances, foreign exchange coming in from the players. There's space for jobs in the field as well. Um, where again, there's the administrative level, but I'm not so much supportive of more bureaucracy in terms of administration. Um, I am seeing some well, I'm seeing a decline in some standards, which need to be improved as it relates to cricket as a viable economic uh, program that the country. Because remember, we're looking at cricket from the perspective of how is it viable to economic activity of the country. So again, Cricket World Cup, you have the Barmy Army coming down. Again, it's not over being filled with people that essentially correlates to tourism activity because you have to have the space to store all of these players in. So hotels benefit. The players are going to rent cars. They're going to drive around the island. They're going to interact with locals. Go to Oystins, go to Bridgetown, go into the stores, go to shop. They might bring in some friends that are not cricketers but still be interested in coming in. Uh, Other contacts that could result in substantial benefits to Barbados. There's also the streaming rights for Kensington Oval. So Kensington and Barbados, Bridgetown, Barbados will be on the lips of all persons around the world who watch cricket, which is good for us as a country right now. Um, but again, the follow through is always the problem. What are we doing to bring others along to create a viable industry that we could keep it going, to know that there will be a few more Chad Williams in the years to come who could essentially raise to the level of West Indies if given the opportunity, much like Shamar Joseph. And we need more of that. So, Chad, I guess in the last few minutes we have, what are your thoughts about the program, and is there anything you wish to share as we wind down?
yeah, definitely. Obviously, I think it's a good one. The program is a good one. I think that you need to do more of this, getting persons in different realms of society on to give their views. As it relates to my parting views on cricket and sport, I think that why don't we, as I said, it's an alternate view. No, we. I think this. I see this question from Jill Biz. We don't get enough of money management talks for sure. That is something that really needs to be done um, throughout the Caribbean, not just in Barbados, but throughout the Caribbean. But before I saw that question, I was thinking about the fact that this is another given thought. Why can't we be obviously not as cricket, but a sportsman, or sportswoman manufacturing country? Now Barbados has greatest density of test cricketers per square mile anywhere in the world, right? And that is not something to be taken lightly, right? So my question is, why doesn't the government get together and say, you know what? If we generate cricketers, right, international cricketers, this will bring money into the country, right? Looking at like pretty much like a factory. We don't get and put 10, $20 million in the facility into a program to develop cricketers, to develop footballers, to develop athletes, because we only stand to benefit as economically, socially. So I don't see why, as I say, it would need some thought, but in my mind, it's not far fetched to think that we could have a facility where a a youth, we go around identifying youth and saying, look, this young man got a propensity for cricket. This young man got propensity for football. This young man got propensity for running. I taken him at 8 years old and I put him into this facility, into this where he just focuses primarily on sport, right? Up until he is a professional. He's not gonna forget school, he's gonna do schooling, right? So that when he's finished sport, he is not an idiot. He can still survive in society and he can still thrive, right? But we need to be at a level where we can produce sportsmen, professional sportsmen. Why would Sade Williams have to go to Jamaica to be a professional athlete? Should not be. She should be comfortable here, training to a level to be at that standard. She should be comfortable training at a level in Barbados. She should not have to go to Jamaica, right? And I think that that's something that the government needs to look at. I think that we have enough talent here in the Caribbean, I should say in Barbados, we're talking about Barbados here, that we can have a cricket school funded by the government. We can have a football school funded by the government. We can have an athletic school funded by the government where we have persons that are just dedicated to sport alone. There's enough money in sports now that that can happen. The government finds money for all kinds of activities. And I'm sure that we can find money for the development of sports persons in the Caribbean, in Barbados. Um, yeah, that is my little piece. I really enjoyed being on the program, and I really take this time out to really appeal to the government to take sports seriously. Obviously, I don't know how far this will go, but really look at sports differently. Look at sports from as Mr. Jabez is saying, from a more creative standpoint. We're really not doing enough for sports persons in Barbados. We're really not doing enough. And it really is a testament to our talent, on our mindset, with how far we continue to get in sport with the lack of facilities.
Yeah, well, Charles, just to answer your question, you say you don't know how far it will get. Trust me, it will get very far. um, what you realize is that there are some serious influential people who watch the platform, and and they usually take ideas from the platform and to implement them within their respective fields. So as Chad is saying, he's appealing to the powers that be to, if you could watch the program, see it from a positive perspective. We're not criticizing to causing any embarrassment or social embarrassment, serious embarrassment or insult. Um, it was being featured in the cybercrime bill. We're not here to do that, but just to offer a genuine critique and to give ideas as to how we could develop cricket to be a viable economic vehicle to help uplift, particularly young men in the country and the region. Not only just young men, because we have a female cricket team. I remember persons like Shakira, Selman, and we have Deandra Doughton, and we have Haley Matthews, all good Barbadians, female cricketers who've been doing very well. We have Dr. Dawn Marie Armstrong, who was a female cricketer as well. She went on to did her PhD in sports psychology, and she has been discussing creating a national sports policy for the country. There's none as far as I know. So I'm asking the respective persons to engage in creating a proper national sports policy to help develop cricket and other sporting activities in the region, to take it serious. We traditionally invested most of our money in tourism, building hotels. And I see SDN saying here that the only facilities government knows how to build is hotels. So as opposed to building so much hotels and spending money on things like that we don't necessarily have to spend money on, maybe just put at least 30, 40 more $1 million in sports. The upgrades at Kensington Oval, I have no comment really on if they are good or bad, but yeah, improve the facilities, yes. add some indoor facilities. Um, as it relates to expansion, I don't know how practical it is to expand the oval, given the demographic of it, and that it may be a little landlocked. Um, However, there needs to be a serious upgrade, not only at the oval, but to upgrade other facilities around the island. As I heard the sports minister saying that we wanted to build 30 mini stadia. However, I'd like to remind them of the fact that our national stadium is not up and running and functional, so we'd like to see that, and we'd like to see at least another multi-purpose facility, which could include cricket, to have modern day facilities to actually give our young people a chance. Cricket in the region is always a very touches thing as it relates to having large tournaments, regional tournaments, because uh, we don't have the adequate facilities in terms of travel. There was Liat, however, Liat has now taken a different route. And after every game, after there's a game in Dominica, Barbados, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, these players usually have to travel out island to island to island, and there's something called jet lag. Uh, Whereas in England, you may be able to drive from stadium to stadium on a tour bus, even though it might take a little while, yes. So we have to think about these factors as it relates to the viability of cricket for the future. And but Chad, we're gonna wrap up now. But I just wanted to ask you one last question. How come we have uh, West Indies cricket, but we have Barbados football, and we don't have West Indies football as opposed to West Indies cricket? I was wondering why that was. You have an answer for that?
That's a good question. I don't see I really don't see a Trinidad being as like being able to compete on the international level. To be quite honest, I really don't see a Jamaica being able to compete on the international level alone in cricket. I really don't see a Barbados being able to compete on the international level alone in cricket. But definitely, we see in football Jamaica being a pretty strong um, territory football wise. I think they're able to they are just being able to hold their own now, as well as Trinidad. So I'm not sure. I can't competently answer that question, but that would just be my little thought process on it.
Yes. Well, thank you, Chad. It was good to talk to you. We actually went overtime. We actually went past more than 100 active viewers. Usually by sometime it usually goes up to about 1,500 persons. And I could tell you your message will be heard. So I hope that you get some positive feedback on your interview. You certainly gave the audience quite a bit of substantial information as to how we could develop cricket and sports for the future. So I want to thank you on behalf of all of the alternate viewers. Um, we're here every Thursday,
Mhm.
7 p.m. You're very much welcome to come back if you have anything to share with us at any point in time. If you want to get a view over to the public, you're very much welcome to do so. The platform is yours to do that. So we wish you the best as you go forward in your cricket endeavors. We hope that in the near future you're actually called to play for the West Indies and give us a success story like Mr. Jose from Guyana. I think Barbados is falling behind as it relates to the creation of world class players. And we certainly wish you the best on your journey to becoming a world class West Indies cricketer. We need another Garfield Sobers um, coming out. So thank you, Chad. I'm going to let you have the very last word. But before we do that, I wanted to introduce you guys to our guest for next week. Um, yeah, I wanted to speak to our guest for next week and to say to you, uh, next week promises to be a very interesting discussion. We're discussing homelessness, and the impact that homelessness would have on the Barbados economy. Um, so I'm hoping that you would enjoy it. So just want to put our next guest here. Hoping that you see him here. Just let me know if you can see it, Chad. Um,
Yeah, I can see it.
yes, Mr. Kimar Safri, the president of the Barbados Alliance to End Homelessness. He'll be on with us next week to discuss homelessness. He's the president of the largest association that deals with the homeless in Barbados. So I want to encourage you all to come on next week and to bring your questions to Mr. Safri and to join in the conversation as usual. Homelessness is beginning to impact on the country in a very serious way, and we wanted to have a show really discussing it and how the impact that it has on the economy, not only just the economy but the society as well. As former Prime Minister David Thompson would always say, Barbados is not only an economy, it's not an economy only, but it's also a society. So next week we will be looking to have Mr. Safri on the program. But Chad, like I said, this is our last. We're gonna give you the final comment, and then we will sign out.
All right,
So
cool.
over
Yeah,
to you.
yeah, I just want to thank you for having me on the show. I just want to implore powers that be to continue to develop sports in Barbados. Obviously, it has a wide impact on society. I think it's the time is fast approaching for us to take it serious. I think time is gone. I think time has expired for us to take it serious. For us to take it seriously, but um, no, it's always the best time. So, would encourage persons that would have any power to make a change, and hopefully, um, we can see development for our athletes in the future.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Chad. Pedro. Yes, we have Shea Hope, we have Jason Holder, we have a lot of guys. I sorry I wasn't able to list them all, but time has become upon us, so we will have to continue this conversation another time. And we will definitely having more cricketers on the show. This is not the first, certainly won't be the last. It's always good to hear a different perspective from many persons in the field. And as John Seeley said, more stories need to be told about cricket in Barbados, and I'm going to tell them and give persons the platform to do that. So that is what Alternative Views is all about. So thank you guys very much. We had more than 100 persons on this stream tonight, which is very good. So you want to thank Chad Wlliams once more for coming on. Chad, you're getting a lot of love in the comments, and persons wishing you very well in your endeavors. Gail Bass seems to be one of your biggest supporters. That is a female, by the way, Chad.
Okay,
Um,
okay, okay.
yes. Mervyn Marius and John CD, Square 4, Oswald Newton, Pedro Gemma, SDNH. Thank you guys. You were the most active commenters this evening. Sir Alfred Benjamin. Thank you very much. My manners to say good evening to Marcia Weeks, to Dave Weeks, and the entire team at the Marcia Weeks show. Tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. to get the Marcia Weeks program. And then on Sunday, the Marcia Weeks program will be having a community event at Gore Hill playing field in St. John. Um, along with our motorcade that we live in the city of Bridgetown to head to Gore Hill in St. John. So we look forward to seeing you there. But please tune in tomorrow to the Marcia Weeks. Sure, we appreciate all of the comments. We really went over time tonight, but the conversation was so good that we had to facilitate Mr. Chad Wlliams. So, Chad, we wish you all of the best. We wish everyone a good night, and we will chat very soon. This is Alternate Views. Good night, and I'll see you all later, viewers.
All
Have
right,
a good
good
night.
night. Yeah.